Hello, my name is Chris Lapadoulos of Anastasiopoulos. TechSport said they're coming out to close that thing up this week, but we'll see. So today I'm going to be reviewing a little clip from a movie called All Watched Over by Machines of Loving. Was it Loving Grace? About the computerization of our society that happened in the 70s that most people are not even aware of, but the people who run the show. It's from this clip from this show called Deepest Lore: Data-Driven Social Management, which is basically how our culture has been controlled and numeralized and computerized because that was just a great idea. Let's listen.
Give up. Another way had to be found of understanding and managing people's inner feelings in modern society. And like R.D. Laing, they turned to the objective purity of mathematical analysis.
Oh, it's super objective, by the way. It's pure. Okay.
They set out to create a scientific system.
He's got a white lab coat on, so you know it's the real deal.
Of diagnosing people's inner mental states, in which all human judgment would be removed and replaced instead by a system based on a power of numbers. They gave up on the idea that they could understand the human mind and cure it. Instead, American psychiatry created a new set of
they could cure the human mind. They figured this out in the 70s.
Measurable categories that were only based on the surface behavior of human beings. Many were given new names, like attention deficit disorder.
Yeah, so they're talking about how this DSM that came up through, major breakthrough. Oh my gosh, we're getting down to the real science. But really, when you get down to like how this stuff is decided, someone submits a proposal for a new disorder or changes to an existing one. They're based on research or clinical experience. Just cause we need a new one. Got a new drug that we want to put a new label in the thing. Oh, and then we'll do a committee review. Oh, we're not doing scientific stuff. We're doing review by committee, and they evaluate the supporting it. This is all very. This is science, really? The committee review, the peer review part. Oh, okay. So everyone agrees. But not the scientific validation part or falsification part. No. Let's not do that part. Let's do the committee agree. That's because that's the final step, right? We can skip all that stuff before and just go to the final step, right? Well, we can just vote on it, right? So it's voting on science. Okay. And then we have some public. Okay, we could get it wrong, so we got to make sure that we hear the public, what they have to say about it, as if they're going to come up. The public is going to come and finance a whole other series of scientific investigations just to prove that they're not. And then all they got to do is say, we don't need your comment. Thank you. Your comment has been seen and disregarded. Thank you. And then the final decision, of course, would be made by the APA Board of Trustees and whether to include the proposed disorder change. It's important to note that DSM is a living document and constantly evolving. New research and clinics, but they said they solved it. But they said they solved the human mind back in the 70s. That was the promise. But when you look into the fine grain, it's like, we might change it. So these things aren't actually real. They're not. They've been reified by this document. People thinking like, oh yeah, ADHD and all this other shit. Oh yeah, totally a thing. Oh, but if you look into it, it's just someone's opinions about things that they go voted on. Oh, there was no politics happening there. And then they can assign drugs. Oh, so there's a money thing happening with this. Oh, so if we can slap people in using science and numbers.
And obsessive-compulsive disorder.
Psychiatry says we don't know the causes for any of these conditions.
We don't know. We can't possibly know. No, it has nothing to do with people being separated from their families, shipped around, being used as an atomized unit of production, forced to be in these environments are totally not built for mental health or even anything near that. Just production. And then you're getting a PIP plan because you didn't quite come in on time. You may have other issues going on in your social life and your family life from being deracinated, completely separated out from your culture, your family, any kind of social bonds. You're doing 40 hours a week, and if you don't 40 plus 2 hours a day commuting, oh yeah, they have no idea what their conditions are. We couldn't possibly know what the conditions are for the mental health. We couldn't possibly imagine what it could be.
And then just said, this is what they look like. This is what depression
These guys. Do they really? Oh, they're taking health advice from these guys? Oh, okay.
Looks like. This is what ADHD looks
Yeah,
like.
that's what
This
it
is
looks
what
like.
PTSD looks
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
This is what
Yeah. We all decided. We wrote it down in a book. And we voted on it. And we all said what it was.
multiple personality looks like. Whether they exist in any particular way, or they exist in the same way, or if they are the same kinds of things, didn't matter. This is just what they look like.
What mattered was that these disorders could be observed and thus recorded.
Oh, and if we can just assign some sort of strategy to treat these disorders, we have no idea where they're coming from. But we're going to assign some drugs. You better believe there's going to be some drugs. There's going to be licensing. There's going to be experts who've been gone through the certification process that they've all agreed that this is what's going on, right? All this stuff is the real deal. This is real science in here. You all agreed, right? If you want to get the certification through this class and this you want the MD at the end of the name, you're gonna shut the fuck up. You're gonna do what we tell you. Otherwise, you're out of the club, ding dong.
The psychiatrists created a system in which the diagnosis could literally be done by computer.
Yeah, why not just use a computer? Yeah.
The observable characteristics
Why
of
not? It's all very scientific, you know.
each of the disorders were listed precisely, and questionnaires were then designed that asked people whether they had those characteristics.
Does your mood often go up and down? Are you a human being? See, the thing about this stuff right here, this is what's known as confirmation bias, right? So I've worked with these companies that go do these canvassing operations. They go out and get public opinion. Well, that's actually not what's going on. I know they make it seem like that, and from the outside, all of the material will look like, oh, we're trying to figure out what the public wants. When in reality, let's be real honest here. These canvassing operations, these questions that they're asking here, these aren't coming up from zero. They are looking to confirm a bias that they already have. And for you to go along with it, even just going through this process, you are integrating into the mindset of the people who have designed this DSM to be as profitable as possible now. Because they know this mental illness stuff. They know where it comes from. They're not stupid. They know exactly where it comes from. It comes from the kind of society they've designed us. And most people are just not going to fit in. So they got to have the ones that can't fit in. They got to figure out a way to convince them it's their fault. It's their problem, and they need drugs. And they need experts, and they need experts to fix them, go into this stuff. So they get into this confirmation bias. So I worked with these companies doing these canvassing operations, and these people would be trained in how to set these questions up in order to sway opinion one or the other. These canvassing operations, these public opinion polls, these are not actually public opinion polls. These are actually mind control operations to sway opinions and to change attitudes. And they're very clever. They're very, very clever with how they approach this. And it's synchronized. It's not just one person going off half-cocked. There's groups of people who are developing these things to get a computer system programmed back in the 70s to do this kind of stuff. Oh, there's big money. Big money. Where did that money come from? Did it come from just the goodness of their hearts? Everyone just gave voluntarily. They did a bake sale. No, they come from the pharmaceutical companies, oil companies run the pharmaceutical companies that run the medical professions that run all this crap because they gotta have workers that will not complain and be their fault, right? If they can't comply with this system, it's their fault, right? They gotta have that.
The answers were simply yes and no. So they could
yes or no. The computer has no other nuance. Oh, that's real human too. We have no nuance. There was no areas. It's like either one or the other. This is like very 1970s psychology program, and it's just continued on to this day. People really do think this DSM is very scientific. They really think that this is how science is done because it's the last step, right? Peer review. That's the most important step. No, it's actually not the most important step in science. The most important step is being able to falsify this stuff. And there's no falsification going on in here. So to say this is science, this is actually mind control. This is psyops. This is psychological. This is domination of the population by other means.
be asked by lay interviewers, not by psychiatrists.
Oh, lay, so you just be anybody, right? You just be anybody. Can be an expert now. Just give them a computer. Just hook them up to ChatGPT. Not anybody's an expert. Is that what it makes them expert? Having all the facts, have them all lined up and agreeing with everybody else. Oh, the ChatGPT said it, so that's got to be true, right? Oh, Jesus Christ.
The computer would then decide whether people were normal or abnormal.
Yeah, the computer did. not the people that programmed it. No. It's very scientific. It's very scientific. Not the people that wrote the program, that created the program, that funded these operations. This stuff wasn't cheap back then. This is $1 million operation, buddy. There's several $1 million operations to hire the programmers, to staff these things, to bring everybody in, to have vacations, and what else? We got bonus plans. We got sales accountants. We got a lot. There's a lot of moving parts here.
The lay interviewer asks specific questions and notes them. That person is not making the diagnosis.
Spitzer. This guy is a total mind control expert. This guy is one of the top level magicians in the game. Creator of the new diagnostic system in 1979. Oh yeah, he really came up with something amazing. This is just ask a question, yes or no. Ooh, we're gonna spin some wheels and show the computer is taking. This is ridiculous.
That data is fed into a computer. The computer program then looks at the pattern and makes the diagnosis.
Oh yeah, the computer does it. Now, not the programmers who write the software with a certain biased point of view because they want to fucking keep their goddamn job. Right? There's a lot of people here that got a lot of money in this. And you're not one of them. So guess what? You're the person that they're going to make sure you understand what's going on. It's science, okay? It's not the computer that was programmed by someone who has a certain intent. No, ChatGPT is completely independent. It has no bias at all.
So the diagnosis was made by the computer.
Yeah.
There was no clinical judgment for the diagnosis. So the diagnosis was made by the computer. There was no clinical judgment required.
There was no clinical judgment required. No. There was no clinical because we weren't in a clinic. You were on the computer doing online stuff. So there was no need to have a clinic or a doctor or humans involved at all. You tell us. We give you the questions. You answer yes or no, and we'll tell you what you're diagnosed with.
The psychiatrists then decided to test this system. And at the end of the 1970s, they sent interviewers out across America with the questionnaires.
So this is canvassing operations. I wonder what they're going to come up with. Do you have an idea of what they might find when they're asking people if they have some mental illness problems back here? Back in these days, do you think they maybe they may find some the way they've asked the questions? Let's see if your answer is correct.
Hundreds of thousands of people selected at random were interviewed. Up to this point, psychiatrists had only dealt with individuals who felt they needed help. This was the first time that anyone had gone out and asked ordinary people how they thought and felt. And the results, when processed by the computers, were astonishing.
Oh, they were astonishing? Oh, do you think they were astonishing?
More than 50% of Americans suffered from some type of mental disorder.
Oh, 50%. It's more like 99%. And some people are like, I'm not taking this dude. I'm going to mark this wrong just in case they're tracking me somehow. I don't want to lose my job. And so the only 50% that are being honest, they're not realize that this may be used against them in some time in the future.
These studies revealed very high rates of mental disorder.
You think?
There are very, very high rates of disorders out there. Half the population has a mental disorder at some point. 17% of the population.
What is a mental disorder? How about they just don't hate? They hate their system that's been set up there where they completely deracinated. They have no idea who their family, who their neighbors are. They're completely atomized. They can be let go of any moment, and there goes their health care. So they're going to put up with all kinds of shit to have their health care, sick care, right? They're doing fine. They're fine. They did the questionnaire. Everything's cool. It's like, no, they're not.
Population has a depressive episode at some point. Figures like that. These rates astonish people. They're enormous rates.
They're enormous rates. Oh my God! We have a depressive episode in a completely devastated, mechanized world. Oh, and they think people get along. They're just massive drug abuse, massive alcohol use. Everyone's just smoking like a fucking chimney, scared that they're about to go through like layoffs and they have to go on a job hunt for 6 months. They lose their house. Oh, everything's fine. That's real good. That's a real healthy way to have a culture go.
And the general conclusion was there is a hidden epidemic.
More surveys were done.
A hidden epidemic? Really? Really? Since Freud was doing all this stuff, telling people that, no, work is the best. Work is the greatest thing ever. You should really think about how you can do work better. And instead of like, my social structures have completely been decimated. I can't make enough money to even put a roof over my head, much less to have a family. And they'd be like, oh, why are you depressed?
And yet again, the computers returned the same disturbing data. The surveys showed that underneath the surface of normal life, millions of people who never before would have been thought of as mentally ill.
Who would never before? They were just fitting in, right? Oh, yeah. That's really what was going on, huh? Nobody ever asked. Nobody. Wow, we just never knew.
Were secretly living with high levels of mental anxiety. Psychiatrists began screening programs across the country. And for many people, the checklist.
Yeah, psychiatrists, what kind of drugs do we get them on? Ooh, we got some money on this deal. We can monetize this.
Were a liberation. Their private suffering was finally being recognized.
I actually heard on the radio.
Oh, the private stuff because you could monetize it now. Oh, so you could do some Pfizer, get you some pills. Oh, we got all kinds of pills. We got these pills. We got the Xanax. We got the Wellbutrin. We got my Wellbutrin journey. Like it's all this shit. Look, man, we don't. If the answer is more drugs, maybe the problem is being defined improperly. If the solution to the human to make him happy, which it was, before the Industrial Revolution, people were like pretty okay with whatever was going on, but now they didn't have this like trying to actually kill themselves in this society and numb themselves to death because that's all they have left. You think the answer is really more drugs, guys? Come on.
They were having a national anxiety screening day.
I should mention when it comes to all of this is that I have my own rather idiosyncratic theories about all of this. What's that book called, Simon? The that book that codifies all of this?
DSM, the DSM manual.
The DSM, yeah.
Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. Started in 1952. The total number of disorders that were listed then was 106. The last edition was 2013, and the number of disorders has grown to 312.
But my theory is that once upon a time...
Oh, and the psychiatric field is really being successful. They're really doing a great job. They're doing a great job with all their theories. And the psychological effects. We've never had fewer people that are having these problems. That whole field is bunk. That's all pseudoscience. It's all crap. It's all political machinations. This is all mass mind control operations. This is what all this stuff is that same stuff that was, oh no, we only did that for a little while. There was only a couple programs. The CI said they quit it doing it and they're not going to do it anymore. Really? Yeah, so you think that happened? Is that really what you think happened with MKO, sir? You think it's not just all the things they're going, including this platform, and whole substrates of our society, all the Hollywood stuff, all that stuff is complete political, straight up mind control. I don't even know what to say, how else to say it. It's just ways to curb your behavior to be accepting of this crazy system that they put us inside of.
Time, most of these people who were diagnosed would not have had an issue because our entire society is front-loaded on cognitive function now, right? Whereby basically you have to have a degree to do many different types of jobs. Whereas once upon a time, these people would have either been in the army, or they would have been like doing menial labor, or they would have been, they wouldn't have had to.
Right. So instead of so you had to give them, you basically had told people they have to take on way more technical responsibility than they're been trained and capable of, or even interested in.
To be forced into a situation where, they have to think all the time, right? And the anxiety that people feel.
I mean, that's just part of it. That's like a surface level. It's like all this other stuff that's like we can't even mention. Like the fact that we don't know our neighbors. We have to move around for these crazy ass jobs. These jobs can cut us off at any moment. The inflation rate, the money rate, all the lies of all the goddamn lies. All that stuff, all compounded on top. And the normalization of drug use and the normalization of alcohol and normalization of breaking up a family. Oh, well, it just didn't work out. Oh, well, gonna get married again? Oh, yeah.
Basically also comes from the uncertainty of being in a society that doesn't have fixed roles. So once upon a time, right, well, my father was a coal miner, his father was a coal miner, his father before him was a coal miner, I'm going to be a coal miner too, because that's who we are, right? And there's a security in that. When you take all of that away, and that in itself is anxiety inducing as well. Then on top of that, you say, well, the only way to get ahead here is do well at school, and then go to university, and then go and work in the city.
And that's all lies too. That's all based on Ponzi schemes that were never going to be supportable. And now these Ponzi schemes are falling over, and people are going, what the hell is a Ponzi scheme? Yeah, it was always a famous. It was always a scam to begin with. They thought they would have enough technology to keep that thing going, and they ran out. Sorry. And also, in the meantime, they completely destroyed the whole society. That makes people even want to go deal with that stuff. 0.1% of the male working has been taken out of the workforce since 1970. They've just been dropping every year. It's like men are like, nah, I'm good. You can have that.
Like all of this is anxiety, quote unquote, anxiety inducing, right? And so what I'm saying is, if you look at what the DSM posits as the median normal man, right, as the person who is neurotypical, quote unquote, what do you?
I hate that word. What the fuck does it even mean? Neurotypical. It means you put up with all the bullshit that they sell you. That means you're neurotypical. You could just go along with it. Oh well, might as well just keep voting and paying taxes. I'm sure it'll be fine. It'll fix it soon.
I mean, you'll basically end up with, I don't know, like a HR drone. I don't know, like somebody who.
Yeah, that's what they want. That's the perfect person. But why don't they be more productive? They come in exactly at 8 and leave at 5, and they do all the boxes. We need to have more work out of these people.
Is like the dead median of this society that we're like nobody fulfills that criteria.
Exactly. To be fit into this corporate world bullshit, cog in the machine, replace next week bullshit, you gotta be real drone-like. You gotta be like completely numbed out from your Wellbutrin journey.
Atypical, you know. So go on. Sorry.
I mean, one of the first ever videos that I did, I was fishing. It was one of my early fishing videos, and somebody that I'd known, that I was working with, had killed himself. And I realized that I've actually known 5 or 6 people who killed themselves at that point. There's been another few since. And I did a video, and I kind of, it was when I began thinking about this, because what I was getting at was that actually it's societal problems, because what's assumed is that these people had actually been psychiatrists and whatnot, and they were told that it was them that was the problem. So
it's them that's the problem, right? You're not fitting in. You're not fitting into this totally artificial society where you're taking all your friends away. You don't have any friends throughout life. They get all spread out if they get successful, right? If you have to leave your hometown, you're done, right? So you're all your friends are gone. You don't know your neighbors. You have to move around for these crazy jobs. You're always looking out for that. You have to be upgrading all these jobs. Are you going to work in a factory? Well, is that thing going to be outsourced to China? Are you going to lose your thing and then you're just back on what, welfare? Like all the crazy. This society is completely bonkers. It's completely bonkers. There's no family formation. It's people are like checking out unless you're like on the elite, and you already have these. Already had you put your money in these stock markets that are going to fall over here in a second anyway, and then you think you're doing well. It's like you're not doing well when everybody else is suffering like so bad. And if the competency crisis hasn't hit you yet, it's going to. Oh yeah, it's going to.
The problem is at the individual level, and none of the things.
Oh yeah, it's the individual's problem. It's your issue. You're not keeping up with technology. Have you taken your Wellbutrin? Why aren't you normal now?
Things which were giving you, pump them full of pills, or the things that they were being told, none of them really seemed to work. And I kind of got
no shit, because they aren't the thing that's been sold is like, oh, if you take this pill, it's gonna cure all your stuff. It's just a tranquilizer. They're just different levels of tranquilizers. All they're doing is numbing people out for a little while so they can ignore all this other shit that they may not even be verbalized, because we're not talking about it. People aren't talking about, hey, what happened to why do I gotta fucking follow these jobs around? Why is there no security in these jobs? Why are things being able to shipped off to overseas and I have no say in it at all? Why are all these illegal immigrants coming in and taking these jobs over for factory workers? And why is nothing happening with that? It's like all this stuff. Why you can't form a family? You're white. Well, I'm not happy. And you no fault divorce. You're done. Takes half. You can only do that a couple times, and things are like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. And those are the guys when they have a family. Those are the guys that are holding everything together, make it all go worth it. It's all checking out. It's way worse than people think it is. It's way worse. It's going to get a lot more worse because this is all doubling up. Have you taken your Lexapro? Yeah. Well, maybe we should try your Wellbutrin. Here's some Xanax. Oh, that's going to really help. Getting totally blasted out by Xanax. I don't have anxiety, but I don't feel anything anymore either. I have no emotions. It's like, well, watch Netflix. Maybe that'll help.
Got the impression, well, what if society is actually the problem and not the individual? What if it's society that's driving?
It's the society. It's this mechanized thing. It's not meant for people. It's meant for somebody else. And if you haven't figured out who that is, you may want to think about who that might be.
People mad. And the problem that you run into is that, well, in order to fix that, would require radical solutions and a complete overhaul of everything about how we live.
Yeah,
and so
that's right. That's what it would take, and that's why it will never happen. Now, individually, you can pop out. You can skip out of these side of these things, but you got to give up a lot of stuff, right? You can't take all the shit with you. You can't take it all with you. You got to let some stuff go. That's the thing. It's like the whole thing about it's like a trade-off. It's like, how much do you think this sucks versus so how much you willing to let go of it versus how much are you totally invested in? Think, oh, it's just me. I guess I'm the problem.
They don't even factor that in. What they do is say, well, it's a you problem. You get to this. Well, I mean, you get the kind of this Ben Shapiro view, which, funny enough, is the sort of economics which are coming in here, which is being discussed throughout. Is they bring it back down to the individual, and so the ultimate sort of it's like the ultimate,
it's like as if it's not set up to fail, and monetize your failure, monetize your suffering. Those Wellbutrin, there's millions of people on that stuff. That's a big business. You think they actually want to solve your problem, ding dong? Come on now.
Fuck you, buddy, is the society itself saying, well, tough luck. Like, if you don't fit in, that's
tough luck. Oh, is that how you're going to go out? Just that's it? Eat it, bitch? Oh, you're going to eat it now? You're just going to be there, little bitch, and you got to just like stuff it down your throat? Is that how you're going to, is that how what they want you to do it? Is that what they're expecting?
Too bad, we'll pump you full of pills, and but at the end of the day, it's you that's the problem. I mean,
it's you that's the problem. No, it's not the system. It could never be us. How dare you even assume that? It's you, asshole.
If I went along to one of these things, I have no doubt that I would come out as something abnormal when I'm perfectly normal. I might be a bit miserable, but I'm not unhappy. Yeah. I'm perfectly happy and content with my life. But my general attitude to life is quite downbeat and pessimistic, and that probably wouldn't tick the right boxes. So it's like purely random. I mean, imagine the people in our circles, what kind of answers they could give. Imagine giving like a whole load of spiel about Spengler's winter cycle or something like that.
We're about to go into a winter cycle. All this stuff is completely unsustainable, and more people are figuring it out every day. And well, we're gonna go into a little dark period. Sorry, because this stuff it's maximized out. They're gonna try and pump it all the way to the end. They're gonna do some funny, weird stuff. But yeah, if you're listening this far, you probably can think about some other ways to sidestep this fucking bullshit.
These psychiatrists. I actually got in touch. It was a troll that I did on my blog, my first blog years ago, where I actually got in touch with some sort of Samaritan thing where they were talking about if you feel depressed, if you want to get in touch, then do that. And I actually contacted these people. With I'll be honest, with the whole point, well, I was going to make a blog article just to see what they would do, which I did. And I told them that I was depressed about mass immigration. I was depressed about political correctness. I was depressed about how anti-white the society was becoming. The changing demographics and the multiculturalism was making me as a white man anxious, and I was having trouble with it all. And I wanted to know what you would do to help me through this. And they just said that these are political questions, and we're not there to solve.
They're political questions, and they're the wrong political questions. And fuck you. Oh, so it's really not a psychological safety, making sure everyone's feeling healthy mentally. Yeah, it's all political. And it's always been this like how people think and what they think about. Do you think they're just going to leave, like the political class is just going to leave that to the doctors and people to be healthy and secure in their homes and purpose? And like, do you really think that they're going to leave that alone? Do you not understand that they're going to totally politicize that every single tyrannical order has ever existed? This has always been a focus, how people think about themselves, the power structures, and their relation to it. And you best believe they have been told, oh, are you depressed about that? Oh, fuck you, dude.
Help you out. You're on your own, buddy. And I was like, but like as a person, I'm perfectly fine. These are societal problems which affect me as an individual. Specific policies which nobody have asked for as well, by the way. Yeah. But now it's like,
well, somebody asked for them. You didn't ask for them. I know you probably had no idea. Wait, you wouldn't. What you even ask for that for? But somebody did. And why do they want that? Why do they want these policies to be like this?
Well, yeah, sorry, we're not going to be there for you. You're on your own. You're on your own, sunshine. Just deal with it. Eat it up.
On your own, sunshine. You're our meat. We're chewing you up and spitting you out, dude. Get back to work and pay taxes. Make sure you don't call in sick, or we'll cancel your goddamn health insurance. And now you're really screwed, aren't you, buddy? Oh, and if you do that too long, there goes your mortgage. Bye, bye.
Yeah. I mean, what Morgoth's given there is a very, very good explanation that relates to stuff that I've referenced on these streams before. It's my customary Mark Fisher moment. This phrase he uses, the privatization of stress. And
right, the privatization of stress. They're publicly making money off of it. They're privatizing it to you. It's like, you got to deal with it now. They think that this is good, sustainable. And it has been, because people are like totally clueless. Like, what are you talking about? I have no idea. Oh, you're crazy, Chris. Why can't you say it different?
it's essentially talking about the difference between under the old societies of discipline where there was hierarchy and you knew what you had to do. In a sense, if you like, stress, the kind of derivative of production in capitalism, was distributed around elites. And in the new system, the so-called societies of control, it's downloaded onto the individual. And it's not just that you're getting more stressed, it's that you are actually earning responsibility for the whole system all at once.
Right.
And that's what happened.
Without any way to change it. You're responsible for it, but you can't change it. You can't make it better. You can't improve it. You can't change it. You can't modify it, but you're responsible for it. So make sure you go to work and be there on time.
In your job today, you're constantly being audited, you're doing logbooks, you're self-monitoring, you're being
I'm going to say a timesheet. We need you guys to fill out a timesheet. And we need you to know what you're doing all day long. Every hour, we need to put a little note there for us so we can see if you're worthwhile keeping around.
praised, you're in continuous professional development, so all of the feedback is all located on you as the node of production in the system. Right. And so the stress, if you like, is all yours. And in the past, if you broke down, well,
without any ownership, without any authority, just all on you. Here's a pill. Hope you feel better.
It doesn't matter, the factory can still function. But now the sense of responsibility that's lumped onto you is of you are, if you like, the point of catastrophic failure. And this is why Fisher's idea.
Well, that's what they pushed it down that far. It is, and it's in catastrophic failure mode. It is. It's these systems. If you look throughout history, which you can look back at when they tried this shit before, we're almost at the end.
Idea was that it was actually late stage capitalism. I mean, there's a whole range of other things that come in of the general condition of modernity, but that these things, that mental illness as it manifests now, is a sort of response to a systemic distortion.
Oh yeah, you don't have 50, even if their numbers are off. It's like 98% of people have mental issues, because there was a time, I do remember when I was a kid, when people weren't freaking out that's hard. They were not. And I listened to my parents and what they had to say, and the people were not dealing with it this hard. They weren't looking to totally drown it out with drugs or weed or Xanax or whatever the fuck they can find. The Wellbutrin. They weren't looking for that stuff. Everything was like, okay, whatever. Now it's like, oh, it's all your fault. It's like, no. Oh, and if you got a problem with it, if you're like sad about it, or like just I'm powerless. Like depression is like powerlessness plus sad. It's like depression. It's like, well, or an anxious like powerlessness, and you can't do nothing about it. You're seeing all this stuff come in. And you can't change it, can't modify it, can't make it more human. No, you have to just deal with it as a cog in the machine. Your problem.
Of how we exist as a society.
Well, one of the things that I really hate about this, by the way, and it actually does relate to Spengler and various other people, Carlyle especially, right? If you think about the great man theory of history, pretty much every great man ever would have been diagnosed with some sort of condition.
Absolutely. They would call me totally insane. Absolutely. As you can see, because I'm talking about stuff you're not supposed to talk about.
And like, you can imagine like the young Napoleon would be like, oh, well, you've got a narcissistic personality, Napoleon. You've probably got ADHD, and he would have been basically kind of mollycoddled out of the path that he ended up taking.
Yeah, here's some Xanax, Napoleon. Shut up. Let your country just be destroyed. Shut up.
And you wouldn't have got Napoleon. Or you take like any of the, I mean, this is something Dutton has talked about as well. Any of like the great inventors in history, like Isaac Newton or something. Or well, like you've clearly got Asperger's, Isaac. So don't worry with it all. You know what I mean? It's like it's kind of it feels like
irascible, kind of like, why are you bringing this up? Can't you just take it easy? Why don't you shut up about it? Everybody else is cool.
A kind of mechanism, a therapeutic state, as Paul Gottfried has talked about it, that actually divests men in particular from achieving their destiny and greatness. And funny enough, this is something that Elon Musk, I think, like I've noticed that like he is getting hit pieces, Morgoth, on his vision of colonizing Mars from like the Daily Mail, which is meant to be a right-wing newspaper, or this rocket that he launched the other day. Like, the press are kind of grudgingly acknowledging that he's done this amazing thing. But it's like Elon Musk, I mean, he's probably got, some sort of, you diagnose him with autism or something like.
Oh, definitely. You got the Asperger's, definitely. Or autism, whatever the thing is like, I don't want to deal with your bullshit. And I got this other thing I'm working on that you probably can't even relate to because it's so far beyond this whole broken society, broken family, totally atomized, 80-hour work weeks, 40-hour work weeks plus 10 hours just on the commute, dealing with all the traffic, expected PIP, you got a PIP port, you got a PIP requirement, I'm depressed, oh, here's a pill. All that shit? Yeah, if you're dealing with all that stuff, you're not really going to stay away with people like Elon and people on that operating on that level. They're going to look like, well, you got Asperger's.
He's clearly on some sort of spectrum. He's not neurotypical.
Yeah, he's on the spectrum of I'm fucking done with this bullshit. And there has to be another way out of this. You all are screwed up. You all are the messed up. You're all the ones that aren't neurotypical. I'm neurotypical. I'm seeing the reality as it is. He's neurotypical. You're the ones that are neurotypical because you are actually accepting this crap. Come on now.
Goal, but he's like, fuck it, I'm going to be the feistier man here. I'm going to achieve greatness, and you can see the system.
Yeah, you have to break free from a lot of bullshit that people think is just totally normal. It's like not normal. Not normal. I'm a neurotypical. You are neuroatypical for fucking putting up with it. Why would you put up with this shit? Just because someone says, hey, you're going to be a bad person if you do it. If you say this stuff, you're going to be a bad person. We're going to call you names. Oh, names. Oh, names.
System just hates it. They hate it.
Yeah, it's pathological. It's what was once the driving force of the civilization is now some kind of mental illness.
Exactly. But this stuff can't be suppressed for too much longer. It can't be suppressed for too much longer. It's actually been pushed down for so long, and the you know how you try and push those like volleyballs when you're playing in the pool or whatever, and you try and push the ball down and it pops back up. Well, they've been pushing it down for so long, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. When it pops up, it goes just blasts everything out, and a whole new thing comes into being. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Which has been run through the computers and then cranked out the other side, and they've got a ready-made diagnosis. And there's all the.
Yeah, that's not how it works. The thing is, this guy, well, AA is still in this impression like, oh yeah, the computer's independent. Oh, the computer's independent. He's probably not a programmer like I am. I'm a fucking programmer. I know how these things have been made. I've been using these techniques since I was a little kid to fool people. I found it early on. You can definitely fool people with this damn computer thing. It's called the Eliza effect. I didn't know about it at the time. I thought people would see through my rouse and catch me, but they didn't. They really believe the computer's this neutral thing. It's like a kid that's pranking people. And they're like, oh, wow, he really got into something there. It's like, no, I'm pranking you. And these people are pranking you. Well, the computer said, no, it didn't. Some guy in a fucking back room who typed it in, somebody else told him to type in the thing. The same thing with this canvassing operation. Oh, public opinions. No, they're giving the opinion. They're showing people their opinion by a series of questions called rhetoric. You do a series of questions with rhetoric and grammar and logic, and you can make people think, if they're not aware this is what's going on, they can be convinced and be shown things that they weren't even thinking about at all, and they'll be fully on board because they have no ability to use grammar, rhetoric, and reason, grammar, rhetoric, and logic to get back out of it, to attack each one of the positions. Like even just understanding what confirmation bias is. People have no idea what that is. Everyone's got confirmation bias, but they don't know they got it. This is the stuff. This is the shit.
In terms of that, there's all kinds. I mean, I did a video a few years ago about I've done two major things on him going to Mars, and there was one the few years ago, which was a video where, in order, like, and I mentioned this in my new article, where in order to justify why he goes to Mars, he has to rely on this kind of Arthur C. Clarke, sort of Richard Dawkins line of thinking, where, well, if something bad happens on Earth, an asteroid hits Earth, then it's lights out for the human race. And what does he call it? He's got like a curious phrase where, you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket and all that kind of thing. So behind it, he justifies it all with this sort of utilitarian logic where, well, if we've got colonies on Mars and something bad happens on Earth, the human race will still actually go on. And
that's very much like the preserver people who are like, who fund a lot of this stuff, right? That's who we have to like convince to fund it because they're the ones that have been preserving the thing. It's like, oh, but if you have to like talk, so Elon has to talk to the preserver types, like, but you should really think about preserving your thing, right? When he's just like, I need to get the hell off of here somehow. Now, I don't think he's going to get there with rockets. I think they got other technology they're going to use to get there. But the whole mindset of getting off the planet and seeing technological increase, even with the rocket technology, which is dead end. It's like a dead end technology. But just the fact that they're making progress and someone is making progress is that the Faustian man of what they call it. Let me see what's going on here. What's going on? All right, I had a little glitch on the thing. All right, here we go. So the Faustian man. So that's what these preserver types will never understand. The Faustian man. It's like, here's what I'm talking about here. They will never understand the Faustian man, right? Because let me make this smaller here. And I know all the things with the Faust and Nazis and blah blah blah. I get that stuff. I get it. I understand. Let me get this thing open again here. Hold on here. Let me explain it. Okay, so he's talking to the preserver types, and Elon is a destroyer creator, right? He's destroying old ways, right? So you can't just be a critic. You actually also have to have all the skill sets to bring something new in, right? You can't just be this is the Western man as well. This is kind of like our spiritual heritage, if you will, is to be the destroyer creator type. That's kind of the spirit of our Western thing, is to both create and destroy something new, where we get to higher levels of awareness and understand what the hell we're doing here on this planet as people.
I'm thinking, I don't believe that for a second. I think you just want to go there for the crack. I think you want to go there because it's there and it has to be conquered.
That's part of it too. Yes, it's there. It's our birthright. It's showing us it's there. We can go there. If we can get there, it's yours, right? That's where the preservers never understand. It's like, what do you mean? We already got this here. What do we need that for?
But the way we live in post-modernity, you can't say that because people would think you are mad.
Correct. All right, so that's about that. I'm gonna leave links to all these things in here for this movie, all watched over by Machines of Loving Grace, and you can go into the more details of that and links to all the things I've shown you here. And I'm Chris Lapadoulis at Thesdesiopoulos. You can give me a like and subscribe, and thanks for listening to me rant.